Hey everybody, this is Dylan. It's gonna be my 15-month on TV video. 15 months was actually about June 10th of this year, so I'm a little bit late on this. But it's been Pittsburgh Pride since about the 3rd, and it's still going for me because of performances I have in June. So I haven't really had a lot of time to process things and go through videos and whatnot. And I'm actually kind of freaked out now because I've never done a video on a webcam before, and I can see myself right now, and it's really fucking with me. But, okay, in the last 15 months, I found out that I've gained about 25 pounds, roughly, gained about 6 inches in my shoulders, and lost about 5 or 6 in my hips, which is kind of crazy. It just kind of shifted all the way up, and I lost about 3 inches in my waist too, 2 or 3 depending. I kind of have to shave a lot more frequently now, and which is interesting. I don't really care for facial hair. I just look really scummy. But it's cool that you can still notice differences like that, and something I haven't actually paid attention to until recently was the fact that the hair on the back of my legs is definitely getting much thicker, and hair is still sort of spreading. But I didn't pay attention to this part right here, and it's kind of crazy and gross. But I don't. I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't matter. So yeah, a lot's been happening. I mean, not much. I can't say not much is changing physically because I feel like it's progressing at a pretty steady pace, and I even notice walking around during Pittsburgh Pride on Sunday at Pride Fest, just catching myself in the mirror every now and then, and I thought that that would have stopped, but I can still catch myself and be like, that's me, like, this is crazy. And I'll put up some pictures from Pride this year and last year, maybe, just so you could see how much has changed in that one year. And now that I have like a lot of my old pictures back, I can definitely do some comparison photos from the beginning. So I did get to perform on the Pride stage, like at Pittsburgh Pride twice, once with Hot Metal Hardware and once solo, and that was amazing, that experience. It's been my first Pride where I've really had to be on and sort of in character the entire time, and I've performed in front of bigger crowds, but I felt like this crowd in particular had the most potential to be the least accepting of a drag king, first of all, and especially one who identified as a trans man. And I could tell during the first maybe 30 seconds or so, if that, of my performance, that there were people who really weren't getting it or weren't into it, but seeing like how I changed their minds in those 5 minutes, and just literally having the ability to change people's minds in 5 minutes, and being like, wow, this is something I've never seen before, and I'm really excited about it. And confusing people a little bit. That's always fun. I'm looking at this little bar that's the voice, I guess, volume meter about the microphone, and I'm kind of confused. I hope I'm talking loud enough. So yeah, Sunday was great. I mean, I was a little nervous because things weren't going exactly as planned, and that sort of messes with my head. But after it was all over, and looking back on it, after all the ridiculous fights my friends and I in our troupe had, and screaming at each other, and being totally done with everything, I think it went so well, and now I'm so happy that we pushed through it, and I think we're going to have a lot of positive responses, and even more people interested in what we're doing on stage. And I can put some links to those videos that I'm talking about, if I remember when I upload this. So I said for a while, and I feel like since it's Pride, still, that I wanted to talk about expectations about gender identity and the way you present. And I feel like that not only has that changed for me over the last year and a half almost, maybe, um, it changes for me day to day even, and it's a very genderqueer sort of thing to me, but since it's still in the realm of masculinity, people aren't seeing the different layers of gender that happen in masculinity. And I'll back up a little bit. This whole thing started with an article a friend of mine had written for the Pride Guide for Pittsburgh a while ago, and referred to all of the people in our drag troupe as butches. And some people really took offense to that. I don't know if I took offense to it, but I really didn't feel like connected with it. But I I can understand both sides of that. So it sparked a discussion about what the word butch means and who it describes. Um, and my friend's position, basically being that, it originated describing men and generally refers to masculine, what people consider masculine behaviors, um, and that it doesn't necessarily have to be restricted to a particular subset in like the lesbian community. But I mean, I understand that a lot of people, when they hear that word, they assume that they're talking about a masculine, female-bodied person, um, as opposed to anything else, and you would need to be corrected or informed otherwise if that person were talking about someone who identifies as something else. And it really is a self. You have to adopt this label for yourself, I think, and interpret it in your own ways. But there are certain expectations, I believe, that people have when you hear the word, and it even sparked a discussion about what it means to be a butch rather than be butch, as an adjective versus a noun. Because when you attach the word in the noun form to a person, I feel like that is affixing that label to them, that is just the core of their identity, rather than using it as an adjective to describe behaviors that they may exhibit. It's kind of like defining the person by the word, or defining the word by the person, in a way. For me, this whole thing, the whole conversation, which was much longer and very detailed, and I wish I could give it justice here, it got me thinking about the way that I identify day to day, and what I want to be sometimes, and what I want to project sometimes. And a lot of this, it ties into drag, because the persona I put on stage a lot of the time is very different from the person I am in real life. And people would think as a trans man that I'm just putting myself on stage, but that's not the case. I have very masculine, stereotypically masculine aspects of my personality, but I also have these very stereotypically feminine parts of my personality. And they are not, and the way people interpret stereotypically feminine behavior in a male presenting person is, he's a faggot. Some people have used this word endearingly to describe me, and it's really not, I don't really like it. I think it's one of those things that I can't get behind. But even if, the general, like if they say twink, for example, that can describe me at some points, but I feel like when you say that, all of the other parts of me just kind of get erased, and you really reduce who I am to that one word. And when you say butch, it's kind of like the other side of that. There are parts of me that are stereotypically feminine. I really I don't feel comfortable even erasing those, which is funny because before I transitioned, those parts I would have wanted to hide because I was so insecure in presenting anything that wasn't stereotypical masculinity, because I was really trying to get that idea of, yes, I'm a boy, out there. And now just getting more comfortable being able to pass from Butch to Twink to anything in between, is really cool, and that's a fluidity that I feel is more subtle than most people are aware of, and I just wish that people. I just got frustrated, and I sort of tried to say, if I had to describe myself, how would I tell people that there's more to it than what you're used to, but without talking to them for about 20 minutes about something they may not really want to know that much about. So I decided that what I'm going to stick with for at least the time being, and this could be 3 days or 3 years or however long, is Butch Twink. Has nothing to do with my sexuality in any way. It's just that's a way for me to describe my gender pretty accurately, and how much of one or the other, it depends on the day. And I just thought that was really cool, and it's also cool that I have friends I can talk about this crap with, because I'm a huge nerd and I'm very into theory, and I don't know. I think that you get the idea, and I'm running my mouth now. So because of all this pride stuff and identity conversations, I am proud to be a Butch Twink, and I'm really proud that I do not subscribe to a binary view of gender or anything close to it at this point, and I really am excited to see how my concept of myself evolves in the next couple of years, because I'm still very relatively early on in my transition, even though it feels like it's been forever. So happy Pride Month to everybody, and I hope to see some really interesting comments on this one about maybe how you identify or what you think about that whole dynamic. Thank you, and catch you guys later.